So many of you know I have a friend who is making between $50,000 to $100,000 a month off of one of her properties that she bought for $315,000, invested roughly $130,000 into it, and now has a very inspiring and crazy story that happens to be very financially rewarding. However, there is a reality to achieving our goals in land hacking that we entrepreneurs must understand. Now, I've talked to friends and other land hackers to gather the 6 biggest pains as you grow a successful land hacking project and how you can plan for them. Stick around for the last 2 because they're the biggest ones that have cost many of us tens of thousands of dollars each and every year. Let's get into it. Now it's almost time for the release of my live land hacker program happening later this summer. Basically, it's 6 to 8 sweet weeks with me, leading live discussions and sessions where I teach you my blueprint on how I and others in this space replaced our day jobs with rental income by hacking land. And for a lot of us, making a lot more than our day job. Now, if you're interested in something like that, I'm going to be officially announcing it and taking signups in a few weeks. So jump over to my website, kaiandrew.com, and get on the wait list by putting in your email. Hey, Kai from the future here. I am editing the video and I forgot to add in this piece where I will be hosting a live free webinar on land hacking, where I go over the core concepts and I answer your guys' questions in a live, basically Q&A session. If you want to be a part of it, jump over to my website, kaiandrew.com, and sign up and reserve your seat. Because it is live, it is going to be limited seating, so make sure you jump over there and get into it right away. All right, back to the normal video. You can also get my guides and spreadsheets on rental structures with the best ROIs and how I break down areas and find the best locations to invest. Go check it out. Liability insurance is perhaps one of the most overlooked areas that can really come back and save your butt when you set it up correctly. As you grow, money starts to come in. More doors and sites are added to your portfolio, and more strangers and guests coming on and off your properties. Sounds pretty natural, right? Whether you have one rental or dozens, there's a certain point when you must realize your normal insurance policy doesn't cover you if something bad were to happen. Whether it be a fire, significant damage to hardwood floors, windows, doors, or even a flood, which are all typically covered under a normal house policy. But when you run a short-term rental business, these fall outside of your normal policy. You want to be sure you get the proper short-term rental policy that will not just cover accidents, but also liabilities. Meaning if someone were to get hurt or decide to sue, you have a policy that will come up and protect and represent you in court. One of my friends actually had someone bring an aggressive dog to her property, let it off its leash, and ended up attacking other people and animals. Imagine the weight of that lawsuit. It's smart to have the right policy for the right amount, but my pro advice is to set up several layers of protection. I personally have 4 policies protecting me, my properties, and my business, or businesses. An extra couple $100 a month goes a long way here. Now, even with one door, you'll most likely have a small team of people helping you run an efficient and effective business. You should anyways. But once you start adding more rentals, you begin to rely more and more on your team. Now, I have a buddy, Tony, over on the channel, The Real Estate Robinsons. Check them out. Awesome newer channel documenting their journey after spending a couple $1 million buying up some sweet rentals across the country. But he had mentioned something that I definitely agree with. He has 3 separate cleaning teams across his portfolio, and each one has their own style, personality, and different billing cycle. Now, this may not be so bad if you're working with employees that are in an office environment, but we're dealing with contractors all over the map, literally. The theme that I can echo is that some cleaners will do things slightly differently from another, throwing off consistency and efficiency. Another thing that Tony and I are in agreement on is that the cleaning crew is probably the most important person or persons of the entire team. They're the gatekeeper between the space and the guest. Many times they even bump into and meet the guests in person. So having polite, professional, and well-mannered cleaning team is a very big challenge. Now, as your real estate portfolio gets bigger and bigger, this team of contractors and eventual employees will require more time, money, and systems to manage properly. How do I take care of this? I have my own personal training system and checklist for my teams where I coach and teach them how I like things done and how they should interact with guests if they were to ever meet them. How to manage and communicate with your guests seems like a pretty simple act. But remember, most successful listings receive 2 to 3 bookings per week. Spread that across a portfolio of rentals, and you're quickly talking about dozens of guests coming and going from your properties at random intervals. Airbnb and VRBO have relatively simple platforms that really streamline how you interact with your guests, but you can quickly outgrow these platforms and need to rely on other online organization sites such as Guesty or Your Porter, which can help you sync up calendars across multiple rentals and multiple listings. But the challenge here is not just making sure that your schedule is buttoned down, but it's when your guests have requests, questions, or complaints. 1 or 2 may not be that difficult. You can definitely handle it. But what about when you have a week-long heat wave like we're experiencing right now and multiple AC units go out? Now, what I've done to help me is bringing on a co-host who has access to my accounts to help, because I like to respond to my guests as quickly as possible, like within minutes. But sometimes, whether I'm on vacation, at a reception, or just busy, I want someone always on the line ready to respond to my guests. Okay, these last 2 are the real ones that can really break your business model. All of my hosts and short-term rental entrepreneurs are already nodding their heads in agreement here. There is an air of anxiety or feeling of nervousness that something will break or go wrong when you're hosting people, especially when it's a lot of people. My friend Cass with the Venue Hack was on the phone with me one time when her whole place was booked out and there was a wedding happening. Everything was great until someone stuffed too much of something into the toilet and clogged the entire septic system. Naturally, you'd want to call the plumber, but it was the weekend and not a lot of them were working, and the only ones that could make it, or the only one that could make it, was several hours out. So Cass had to find a way to get a 50-foot snake from Home Depot and figure out how to snake the clog herself. That didn't work, actually. But eventually the plumber did show up and everything got cleared, but it was a hectic moment, or several hours, with just a few working toilets and 100 people on site and all the rentals booked. So how do you combat this? Rather simply, really. I now over-engineer my properties. I typically buy the commercial industrial version of anything when it comes to my rentals. For example, if I can help it, I no longer do shingle roofs. They leak and require too much maintenance. I do metal with 50 to 60-year warranties. I don't use central heating and cooling. When I have the ability to upgrade, I go with oversized ductless heating and cooling systems. That way, if one head ever goes out, I still have multiple other heads that still work within the space. They're way easier to maintain too. Same with septic and plumbing systems. I oversize them or over-engineer them so I have less worries, lower ongoing maintenance, and most importantly, less downtime. Now, no matter how large you get, a good entrepreneur always cares about their business, their customers, and ultimately their properties, their assets, right? You can grow and develop better teams and systems, but at the end of the day, it's hard not to care when things go wrong. Remember my 3 guarantees in life? Death, taxes, and heady construction costs. Taxes is what we're talking about here. They will always come back and bite entrepreneurs in the butt if they don't plan for it. Turning one of the strengths of short-term rentals, quick systems of cash flows, into a major tax burden, especially when you don't work with a CPA or a tax professional. Making $1,000, $2,000 a month may not be a big deal for you tax-wise, but once you start making $8,000, $15,000, $20,000 plus dollars a month, your tax bill will grow substantially. The good news is you're in the right business to write off and legally not pay a lot of taxes. However, you probably don't know how to set it up or structure it properly. I didn't. So again, I highly encourage you to work with a true tax professional who can help you put together a tax strategy and tell you exactly how to set up your business or businesses so you can legally avoid paying unnecessary taxes, like taking advantage of depreciation of certain assets. Now, my friend Kevin has been my CPA for almost 20 years. Man, we're getting old. And is currently accepting clients. He specializes in real estate and entrepreneurs, so hit him up, details down below. Now, everything I just listed off are just first world problems in the short-term rental business model, but they can be major headaches and stumbling points for a lot of real estate entrepreneurs. That's why I go in way more depth with each one of them in my live land hacker program, where we focus on the step-to-step blueprint on how to find locations, acquire the right piece of property, and create livable income from one piece of land. And because I'm refocusing my attention onto this live land hacker program, I'll be closing my one-on-one consultations this June 30th. There are a few slots left, so if you're interested, jump into my calendar and grab a spot. Otherwise, you'll get the chance to get a one-on-one session through the live program. I'll be officially announcing it in the upcoming weeks, so stay tuned for a note from me. So you can get on my email list on my website, kaiandrew.com, and get some great guides on my searching for land with the golden triangle method, spreadsheets on how I run my numbers, and even how I rank rentals based on ROI. You know the drill by now. Liking, subbing, hitting that bell button if you want to hear more from me in the future when you log into YouTube. I love you all, and we'll see you in the next program live. Can't wait. Kai out.